Fallible.
All right.
Is there a sentence for us?
Liable to be mistaken.
I try not to be a fallible person in my decision making and getting it wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Seth.
Thank you, Seth.
All right, it's good to be back. I missed last week. We had our Toastmaster area last week, I guess. I'm gonna miss that. I'm sorry I missed that. Good to see her being the general evaluator today, so that's
Mhm.
good. Welcome, everybody. We don't have any guests today, but it's still a good day. I wasn't sure I was gonna be here. I'm recovering from diverticulitis. So
Oh, wow.
if you haven't ever had that, it's extremely painful.
Wow.
So I'm coming out of it, but it's starting to get better. Hopefully, in another few days, I'll be back to normal. I'm 75% there. So with that, I'm gonna introduce and bring up our
Toastmaster.
Toastmaster of the day, which is.
So we don't have a speaker today, is that correct?
No, we have number two.
No, we don't. There's no
Speaker two is KO.
The agenda's all kind of wonky. So we'll see.
I thought we had a speaker. I thought Dick was doing a speech.
Well,
And he took it out and messed
I
up.
was in late yesterday
So you
editing,
took it out?
because the speech I was down to give in there, I had given some time ago, and I just wanted to kind of block my name out, because I'd already given it.
No.
But it took the whole darn line out, it was too late to notify anybody, and
Oh, okay.
so I'm sorry.
So maybe we'll just have a meeting of table topics for
Somewhere around
today.
the tabletop.
That'll be up to our Toastmaster, which is Ko Nunu today.
Well, good to be back. I was in Chicago for a little while last week and got rained and blown into town on Friday evening. But good to be back with you. Our theme today is summer times. Summer times. They tell me summer is only a few days old. Can you believe it? So, general evaluator is Ariel Custer. Ariel? Introduce your team.
Thank you. As the general evaluator today, I will be evaluating the meeting as a whole, and I have a few helpers. First of all is the timer, I believe is Seth.
Yes, as timer, I will keep track of everyone's time. I'm not sure who's speaking or how we're handling that, but if we do a round of table topics, I will go ahead and show cards this time so we can maybe work on our timing a little better.
Okay.
Green at 1 minute, yellow at 1 minute 30 seconds, and at the 2 minute mark, the red card will show. You have 30 seconds to wrap it up from there. Ariel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Second member of my team is the grammarian, and our counter will look.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I have 2 roles today, grammarian and Hawkins. From both capacities, I'll be watching for the use of your English language, making sure that you use it correctly, that you pronunciate and enunciate each word correctly, and use it in the right form. I'll also be checking the use of us, ums, filler words, and any other made-up nonsense you just feel like throwing in there for the fun of it.
things like that.
Things like that, exactly, and stuff like that too. So anyway, I'll be looking at our use of the language today. Thank you very much.
And I will call back up the Toastmaster to introduce our next segment.
All right. Okay, Ariel, I'm trying to do this roll without using the sheet, but we are a little bit confuddled today. I think we are rather fallible, aren't we? So let's agree together on just what it is that we have on the dock today. I thought, Dick, you had a speech, but you do not have a speech. So are there any speakers with prepared speeches for us today? Nope. Okay. If there are no speakers with prepared speeches, then I'm going to call on Mr. Dick Horton, our table topics master, to take us to the next stage. Dick?
You get to be the whole meeting today.
I have not prepared for that, so I'm going to call upon my very close golfing buddy, 71 yesterday at 4:0, which is phenomenal, given the fact that most of the holes are underwater. And
He
remind
found
me,
them anyway.
the front nine is a par 27, I believe.
No, it's 30.
It's 30, and the back side is 36,
35.
35, so 65, so 6 strokes
I
over,
shot 6 of them.
which is phenomenal. That really is just phenomenal. I'm gonna have a backup table topics master. My first round, though, is to practice what we preach in here. And that is for each one of you to come to the front when you're called upon. And we'll just go in order, starting with Dr. Mark and working our way this way, so he can set the tone like he usually does. And what I want you to talk about is, at Toastmasters, we talk about coming here to learn about leadership and about improving our presentation skills. What I'd like for each one of you to talk about in a transparent kind of way, either what you've learned about one or the other, and or what you thought you might have learned when you started coming, but you just haven't gotten there yet. Maybe in a way, kind of on a negative way, you thought you would come here and learn some things about leadership, and yet we just never really have touched upon that. Is that clear then? What you've learned about leadership or presentation skills, and or what you wished you would have learned but just haven't had the opportunity yet. Dr. Mark Johnson, you're first up, right out of the chute.
My initial purpose for joining Toastmasters was to improve my game. I've been speaking for 50 years in front of people. I am an old hand at doing that. But even as you get comfortable doing that, you can soon lose your poise and correctness of presenting. You fall out of habit. And the reason I joined Toastmasters was because I teach people to present. And I figured if I'm going to do it, I've got to be at the top of my game. And my expectation when I came to Toastmasters was to learn those essential skills that would help make me a masterful presenter. Now, needless to say, I've been a Toastmaster now for 10 years, going on 11. I would probably have to admit that I am not a master yet. I'm fallible. I have those moments when I will hiccup. I will have those moments when I will say, the thing is, stuff like that, and throw in filler words. I will have moments when I don't use the right gestures. I've been commenting on pointing with my finger or doing this with my hands as opposed to leaving them at my side. The thing that I've learned most about presenting is that it's like golf. If you don't practice and do it all the time, it's easy to let the game go. The reason I've got a 71 yesterday was because I've played 2,300 holes of golf walking in the last 2 years. I play almost every day, particularly in the summer. I love to play. But just like speaking, if you don't make a habit of doing the right things every time, it can be a nightmare. That's what I've learned about speaking, is it takes practice, and you got to do it all the time, or the game goes to pop.
Yes, why don't we just follow on up with
Okay. One of the things I have learned in Toastmasters is to be careful who you follow. And so following Dr. Mark is not the correct procedure if you want to have a presentation that looks like it might be worth listening to. So I sat in the wrong chair today to be at my very best. So anyway, that we'll make the best of the situation. I began speaking at Toastmasters quite some time ago in Tulsa when there was not a club in this area. And so I went there because I had been elected chairman of our association, and I needed to present speeches to a group of about 300 of my fellow association members. And that just petrified me. I was not accustomed to speaking in front of a group, and that seemed to be about the only thing that would have scared me more was to walk across a piece of glass over Grand Canyon.
Wow.
And so it was, and so the night I was to give that first speech to that group, I woke up at 3 in the morning not sleeping. And I woke my wife up. She was gracious about it. And I said, I am dying here. And she said, well, let's get up, get dressed, and go down to the hall where you're going to speak. And we did that. And we went to the great big hall, and it was just workers down there preparing for the next day, setting up chairs, setting up everything. But they had the audio system set up. And so I got the microphone turned on and gave my speech to those workers. And so they could care less, but I was able to practice that, and therefore at 7 o'clock the next morning, I was able to get through it just fine. But I came home looking for a Toastmasters meeting, and there was none available in this area. And so I found Tulsa and went there, and that got me on the track. And they very quickly helped me become much more comfortable getting in front of people. And I became comfortable and enjoyed it. It was a good thing. I looked forward. I volunteered to give speeches. And then something weird happened. I lost my confidence. Somewhere along the way, I quit coming to Toastmasters. I hadn't practiced for some time, and it was time for me to go give a speech that I hadn't actually volunteered for. I thought, oh, this is back to the old feeling of not being comfortable again. And I thought, well, shoot. I thought this newfound skill I had was going to stick around. And it didn't. It left. And I thought, well, what do I do? And so I'm back to Toastmasters, and I gave the practice speech last week for the highway opening, and the guys gave me excellent advice about not reading the speech I had prepared. And so I went home and rewrote it in summary form. So my little half-page summary was what I spoke from, and I practiced it. Somebody said, practice it 100 times, and I came close. And so when I gave that speech yesterday, was it yesterday or
Monday.
the day before?
Monday.
In front of a pretty good sized crowd of folks there to cut the ribbon for the highway, it went just as smooth as could be. And I felt comfortable, and I knew what I was doing because I practiced, and I wasn't reading everything. And my wife was my greatest critic, and she gave me a 10 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Ken. It is encouraging to hear from you, from Dick, from Dr. Mark, people that have been on this road for a while, to speak the truth about what the journey is like. Thank you for being willing to share. I've been thinking about what to share with you on this subject, and I go back to the core values of Toastmasters. I came up with an acronym for it. SERI. S-E-R-I. Service, excellence, respect, and integrity. Excellence is what I want to speak on a little bit. For me, joining Toastmasters has been about getting better, getting closer to being excellent. part of that is confidence, which comes when you practice in a safe place, as Ken discovered. Honest feedback from colleagues and friends who are not out to draw blood. It's always pleasant. And then going back and reworking things. It's only through practice, feedback, that we build confidence, so that when it's time to actually stand up and say something, then you are ready. I have found no other way of growing in confidence than practicing feedback, correction, and going over it again and again. Most recently, I have decided to go ahead and begin to do probably one of the most painful things any preacher would ever venture to do, which is to go back and listen to your own message. I mean, it is very, very hard to do. And in my case, it is not just audio recorded, but video recorded. So go back, listen to it, watch it with the volume on so that I'm looking at everything, and then watch it with no volume so that I'm watching my gestures, paying attention to what I need to do different. All of that in pursuit of excellence so that I'm at a good place to offer what I have been given to others. That's why I am here, and while I'm at it, helping others on the journey.
Great.
It's your turn. Sure.
I credit Mark and Dawn for being my inspiration to join Toastmasters. I learned about Toastmasters at the Chamber of Coffee. They would come and talk at the Chamber of Coffee, or they would speak up at the Chamber of Coffee and talk about Toastmasters, and they were very enthusiastic about it, and I decided that's something I need. I really should try joining that club and see if I can become a better speaker. When I started in my position with the job I'm in now, 13 years ago, I was required to give speeches to organizations, mostly about my company, and over the years I've grown to be able to do that, and I'm comfortable with that. I'm not really very good at it, I don't feel. By nature, I'm an introvert, and words spiral around in my head, and they want to stay there. They don't want to come out of my mouth. I have to force them out of my mouth. It's not comfortable most of the time, and I would rather not be doing it. But I have a goal I'm working toward, and when I retire someday, we talked about this last time I was here retiring, I'm dreaming. I've got several years to go, but I want to be able to speak at national conventions in my profession and train, talk about my story, and that's my goal. So I'm here. I haven't been able to dedicate much time. I haven't done my first speech even. I intend to, once I get through the summer and things slow down at work a little bit, I'll be working on those speeches and start really putting some effort into my goals. Thank you.
Thank you for the applause.
English is so good.
Yeah.
Little more, little more.
Time's up.
2 minutes of applause.
Leadership, Toastmasters and leadership. What I've found with Toastmasters and leadership is that it's something that can happen on several levels, in that it doesn't really matter what your role is or what your job is in an organization. There is someone who is less experienced than you or might not know something that you do. And leadership in that way is something that you can provide as you guide them, that other person, further into the organization. It is something you already know. in the way that a teacher does, in the way that a club president does, in the way that just directing somebody across town does. And for the bigger situations that we have in our professional lives, Toastmasters gives us the confidence to be able to help other people and help us help ourselves presenting our ideas that are in our head to listening audiences. So that's what Toastmasters and leadership is to me. Thank you, Mr. Tabletop.
Well, I got into Toastmasters through the Chamber Coffees too. Mark had introduced, he made an announcement about Toastmasters at the Chamber Coffees, and I'd heard about them. I knew about Toastmasters, I'd never checked them out. But when you said that, I immediately, after the coffee was over, I went right to Mark and said, tell me more, I want to know more, and I joined. I joined because I wanted to just get better at this. Most people are scared more of death, or more of speaking than they are of dying. And that's true. I am scared to death to get up in front of a large group of people. It scares me, and I don't want to be that way. I want to be better at that. And shortly after I joined, one of the things that really became a primary focus of my goals was to do the toast at my daughter's wedding. And so I got an opportunity to practice that several times at Toastmasters, and I worked on it. I thought about it laying in bed, and I wrote it down, and I worked on this toast for my daughter. And I thought, I didn't say anything at my son's wedding, and I thought, I'm not letting that happen at my daughter's wedding. So I did it, and it turned out really well. I even added a little ad-lib to the speech, because on the 2 or 3 days before the wedding, we were driving to Kansas City and got to hear a story of a preacher was talking on the radio about retirement and living young until you die. And I thought, that's something that really is relevant in this. So I added that to that, kind of at the last second. And it came out good. And I thought, kind of like you said, Ken, these skills, you get these skills, and they should stay, but they don't. And it was about 6 months later, my other son got married, and so I did a toast at his wedding. But I thought, well, something's not quite right here. When I did this, I thought about it, but I never practiced it. I never wrote it down, and I absolutely bombed on that speech. That toast went horribly wrong. I did the MC of because they didn't have and all that went fine. But when it came time for me to say congratulations, Brian and Sarah, I froze. I have no idea, since I didn't practice it. And I thought, you've practiced these skills and they should get second nature to you. And so that's one of the things that you thought, what did I not expect? I didn't expect that. I thought if I practiced these things, they would sort of become second nature, and I could just get up anytime and table topic something. Do a 20-minute table topic or whatever, but you gotta work on it. It's a constant effort to keep it going. I found out from that speech I really am fallible. And I've been working on speeches, varying amounts of preparation. That's one thing I've been trying to do. I did one speech where I didn't really prepare a lot. I thought about it and I just did it, and it didn't come out too good. And then I've done other speeches where I just prepare like crazy, and then it just doesn't, it sounds robotic. It didn't come out very good. So there's something in the middle. I haven't found that sweet spot yet, but there's a sweet spot in there somewhere that I'm trying to find, where I can say, okay, I've thought about it enough. I've written some things down. I've read some things. I've got enough together. Now I can do a speech based on this much, preparation, and hopefully it comes out better then. So that's what I'm hopefully getting out of Toastmasters.
Up here, you guys. It's hard to go last. I'm new. I joined Toastmasters because of a mistake. Just to be honest. And it was a personal mistake that I made. A mistake that I made my whole life, I had misunderstood a very popular saying, work smarter, not harder. And the way that I actually remembered it was work smart, not hard. And this was in my head, and I realized, because of some sales training that I'm doing, I'm a salesperson, so I sell people stuff, and that can get super awkward super fast if you're not very good at it. And I was not very good at it. So it got super awkward, and I'm like, oh, this is hard work. And if it's hard work, it must not be smart work. And I'm like, all right, put the brakes on, no more working until I can do it smart. But whenever you stop working altogether, then nothing really happens anymore. So I started to learn, like, okay, so I need to get smarter, then you just learn stuff. That's normal to me, and I love learning, so it was like a win-win. I don't have to do the stuff that's hard and the stuff that's scary. I can just learn about it, and then whenever it comes time to go back to that hard stuff, it'll be easy, and then I don't have to work hard. I'm just working smart. And then it dawned on my little brain this last week, the saying, first of all, it's work smarter, not harder. And although there is hard work that's not smart, all smart work is hard work. Whenever something gets hard, ain't nothing wrong. You know, in marriage, the Bible says, he who marries will have trouble in this life. And that verse is really comforting, because whenever you have trouble in your marriage and you go, oh, pastor, or counselor, mom, dad, mom, he's terrible, and my marriage is in trouble, or man, this is hard, marriage is hard. Ain't nothing wrong. The Bible says marriage is hard. Marriage is hard. And everything that's hard is worthwhile. So I kind of pieced some things together, and I put it all together, and I'm already in Toastmasters. I just had that epiphany this last week, so this is the perfect place to work hard and then learn. And as learn, and the hard work gets to be smart work, and soon it's just hard, smart work all the time.
I have to say, although each of us is fallible, there's no doubt about that, but all of the comments that you shared today, for me, was almost overwhelming. I never dreamed that we would hear the kinds of personal comments mixed in with a little humor here and there, and some realism here and there, but I just think today, thanks to each one of you, was absolutely amazing. My co-table topics master, Dr. Mark Johnson, please come to the podium. The fallible Dr. Mark.
And since you're plopping it down, you can pop it back up because you're up first.
Oh, good.
When I teach in HR, we talk about transfer of training. And it's critical for a teacher, for your students to be able to take what they learn and apply it to real life. Otherwise, you haven't taught anything. If they can't take it and use it elsewhere, you're wasting your time in the classroom. So my question has to do with learning transfer on a personal note. Very much what you talked about. What have you learned about leadership? What have you learned about presentation skills? But specifically, Dick, I want you to share with us about what has been your greatest challenge of what you've taken away from Toastmasters and applying it to your professional work. What's the challenge you've had to overcome to make that transfer?
Dr. Mark, I didn't even have to think about this more than a nanosecond. Thanks to KO and you in particular, because I did reach out to you to really critique what you've seen in my presentation skills. And by far, the most difficult thing for me has been to implement what you've told me to do. Pitch TV is an acronym we came up with the other day. Pace, pitch, tone, and volume. I've been unable to do that routinely. That has been the challenge. And in my work, especially as a consultant, was over in Springfield last week and Carthage last week, and I'll be in Maryville next week. And as I reach out then in my consulting profession, I'm always aware of how to present myself to others to whom I'm trying to sell my services. So I'm constantly thinking about PPTV and how I can implement it. That has been the biggest challenge. I also belong to the Jomo Club in Joplin Monday nights. So I was over there Monday night doing my last presentation to position me for my DTM. And one of our members there named Tammy critiqued my presentation, and she did not know so much about my struggle with the PPTV, but she said one interesting thing that gave me a little bit of hope. She said, Dick, you really don't have that vocal variety on a routine basis. But what you do through one thing or another, you add some variety. It could be humor, it could be gestures, it could be passion. I thought, well, okay, that's okay, and I was glad to hear that. But at the end of the day, at the core, that has been my greatest challenge, not to be able to implement what you and KO in particular have asked me to do.
Thank you. So Ken, we know you are one of the stellar CEOs in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Your name is right up there with the Harvey Deans and people that have come to Pittsburgh, started business, made it grow and blossom. So my question for you is, as part of your success, what has been the transferable skill that you've learned about leadership that have helped you have success as a CEO in Pittsburgh, Kansas?
Very interesting question. Nobody succeeds alone. Everybody that has a growing business of any dimension requires help. There has to be some people to help get the work done, because one CEO cannot do everything alone. And so if you have a team of people that you can share your vision with, that you can inspire in some way or another to do the work that you know needs to be done, then the team can create a success and a growth that is very positive. And if you're not able to share that, then the folks don't know what to do. And what exactly is it you want them? Why are you employing them? What are they here for? If you can't tell them what exactly their job is and how you would like it to be done. We had a meeting this morning that we talked about a rather boring subject, which is accounting. And we discussed how we were approaching it and whose job it was to do certain pieces of it, and how some of our people had really grown in their ability to communicate the accounting pieces that they were responsible for. You know, this particular person was responsible for the budgeting and the presenting of the budget and the discussions of what should be in, what should be out. And so as she presented that budget, and then after she finished, I said to her, you have become really good at making it clear what we need to do. And that's a big change, and your growth is obvious. And so it really makes a nice difference for the organization. So we're all fallible to the various things that happen in business. Business is never the same, and you never know from year to year what challenges will be, you know, fresh and new. But you know you got the team behind you to work with, and you know that they're going to be able to address the challenges and be successful at it.
So KO is the shepherd of your flock at Presbyterian Church. You teach life lessons all the time. What life lessons have you found most challenging for your congregation to take hold from what you've learned and share with them?
For me, the word service comes to mind. Happens to be one of the values of Toastmasters, service. And how best to serve people while encouraging them to be people of service themselves. We live in a culture where consumerism is the order of the day. You go to a theater, you stand in line, get your ticket, get your bucket of popcorn, you sit in the seat, it is dark, you expect the curtain to go up and the show to just get going. And you get up while you pay for your service and you leave. Or say you go through a drive-through to get your car washed. Again, drop the coins in there, car wash, that. So we live in a consumerism mentality. Well, that is not checked at the door of a church. So it's quite easy then to have people sitting in the chairs and pews who understand themselves as having just shown up to consume whatever is there to be consumed, whether it's a sermon, whether it's a Bible study, whether it's a choir that I've practiced 4 or 5 times, and they're just there to consume. In the spiritual life, service is how you move forward, not consuming. The Bible talks about Jesus coming not to be served, but to serve. So it's a real challenge, encouraging people that while we're here to try to offer something, at the end of the day, if you're actually going to grow, you have to be willing at some point to serve. And that's what I am working on in terms of transferable knowledge, trying to impart on people that if you've been here for a year, 2 years, you're still sitting in the same chair, in the same pew, you haven't found a place to serve, I'm not sure we're doing you any good at the end of the day. Find a place to serve.
Hey, Rebecca, as one of our newest members of Toastmasters, what is the immediate thing that you're seeing that's most transferable that we offer to your life, whether at home or at work, life in general? What's the immediate takeaway for you in transference of what you've learned from Toastmasters?
That's a tough one. The thing I've learned via transfer from the members of Toastmasters, that would be, I think, commitment to the group. There are a few faces in the group that I see every time I come, and I'm not here every time, obviously. I like that they have the commitment. They're out in the community, talking at chamber coffees about the group, telling other people, trying to get other people involved in the organization. I like that about the group. So when I come to Toastmasters and I get to hear the speeches, I've heard a few, it inspires me to do better, to become a better speaker, and to really work on that goal to become a better speaker. At times, I'll admit, it's overwhelming when I hear Ko give his speech, I hear Mark. It's, I just sit back and think I'll never be that kind of speaker. I just don't know that I could be that kind of speaker. I'm convinced that you all started at a different place than you're at today, and I know that Ko gets practice every week on his speeches.
Yeah.
And so I will be diligent and learn to practice and write those speeches and get out there and really start moving on my goals. Thank you.
The good news is, Rebecca, you can be. As I tell my students, the difference between me and them is only about 1,000 speeches. So if you practice and do it often enough, you will get better. It just comes with the territory. So just keep practicing, keep working.
I don't wanna,
What's that, Seth?
I don't wanna interrupt the meeting too much, but we have 15 minutes left.
15 minutes left. So do we have enough time for 3 more table topics? Or what do you think?
Yeah, we're gonna have to stay tight on our
Yeah.
response.
What's that?
The three of us need to stay tight.
Yeah, we just gotta stay tight.
Because we really don't have anything else to do.
Red comes up, wrap
We
it.
have evaluation to
Yeah.
do, yeah, of the meeting.
So are we through with table topics?
Yes, let's go ahead, let's do it.
Go ahead and do it.
Yep.
So Seth, I want you to talk about what is the #1 transferable skill you've taken and have already implemented in the workplace. What is that thing you've already taken from Toastmasters and implemented in your workplace?
What one thing have I already gained from Toastmasters that I've been able to use then in my daily work life?
Mhm.
That's really simple. Succinctness. In Toastmasters, especially in the table topics, it's presenting your topic, presenting your information in a concise, simple, quick way is critical in that 2-minute span.
Mm.
And in my daily work life, in anyone's daily work life, some things just seem like they're more complicated and they need more explanation and you have to go further in depth in it. And, you know, you might have to start at, I don't know, Genesis to get to Revelations. And really, there's a whole lot of middle ground in there. And there's maybe one topic that you need. Toastmasters has taught me how to really condense some of that material and deliver it in a quick, easy to grab manner that everyone in the room can understand and take from it what they need to do for the next step, as we've kind of talked about in that leadership role. Thank you, Mr. President.
John, what skill do you need to take away and improve the most? What transferable skill are you still seeking to get and take away that you have not yet implemented in your life?
I feel like since I've joined Toastmasters, I've gained a lot of confidence. Of just getting up and doing Toastmaster or starting the meetings off, and evaluator, or even speech evaluations. Which, if there's anything I need probably to work on more within Toastmasters and then outside Toastmasters is giving that feedback to other people when things happen. So just giving a speech evaluation is one of the toughest things for me to do. Tell somebody, Dick, you gotta raise your voice a little more. And it's hard for me to tell you that. I feel like I'm stepping on your toes, but I know this is a safe place and we should be able to do that. So I want to learn that more, and that skill alone I know will transfer into my job and my family and everywhere else, because I'll have, as I develop those skills, I'll be able to do that with my wife and my family and my customers, so I can gently tell them, well, this is not really going to work this way, and so I can give them that feedback that hopefully they'll get something out of it. And I know that's something, I've not done a lot of speech evaluations in Toastmasters because they're tough for me, so I've got to work on that more. And so that would be the top skill that I need to work on that I have not really put enough effort into yet. I need to find out where I'm fallible there and fix that. Thank you.
Ariel, I have a unique question for you. You spoke of family, and I know you've got young children. As a mother, as you've taken those skills you've learned in Toastmasters, what is the most critical skill you've learned here that you would want to pass on to your children?
That's easy for me too, and I can kind of pick up where I left off last time and just doing the hard work. It's hard, that's okay, it's supposed to be hard. I probably a little bit biased, but my kids are like really smart. Like my 4-year-old has been reading for the last 6 months. My 2.5-year-old is sounding out words. They both love math. They can both add single digits. The 4-year-old knows his times tables like up to 12. It's kind of crazy. He just loves to learn, and he's really good at it. He just soaks it in, and I love that. But my concern is that things will be so easy for him that as soon as he comes up against something hard, because kid's not infallible, he's fallible. He's got things that are going to be hard for him. He's going to want to quit and be like, no, I'm gonna stick to the stuff that's super easy for me. And so I hope that from doing Toastmasters, and I talk to them about what we do here, and they would love to come to a meeting, and that's not gonna happen. But I hope just from exposing him to that idea of doing the hard work, doing hard things, and applying yourself to learn and then implement will stick with them both as they grow up. All.
That's Mr. Toastmaster. I'll turn the meeting back over to you. Carry on,
All right, Ariel, so you don't need to sit down yet since you are the general evaluator. It's your turn to come on up and evaluate our time together. Thank you.
The first thing that we're going to do is tear off a corner of your agenda and score the meeting. I will save my score to the end because suspense, and you can start with the evaluator, my helpers. We'll go backwards this time. We'll start with Dr. Mark, with Mark and the grammarian and occupator.
Okay.
Zilch.
Madam General Evaluator. So, one thing that, I started out with so I've got one of those. Sorry about that.
One of those things.
One of them things. Today was terrific with the use of the word of the day. We had 5 different people use it. I think that's the most, in a long time that I've seen, the most different people that have used the word, and those 5 people used it 7 times. And that's not even including me on the list. So I think maybe that's 8 times that we use the word infallible. The creative usage of the day I'm going to give to Ken, because I loved it when he said, that's as frightening as walking over glass over the Grand Canyon. I had never heard that phrase, but that I knew that little bit of vertigo watching, oh my God, yes. I got that feeling. I thought that was very descriptive use of the word. Now, as good as we were with the word of the day, we weren't so good with words and usage. Collectively, we use the word and over 30 times. Some of you as many as 10 times. We use the word well and but and so. I didn't catch any you-knows today. There were at least a dozen ums, and we had several repetitive phrases. Don, one of the challenges for you, you have energy, but it's a little uncontrolled. And what happens when you speak, you're so energetic that you'll start a sentence, but then you back up to make sure you're on. I caught 11 double clutches. You would go, and then you back up and you repeat the same first 2 words of a sentence. You did that at least 11 times. And I think I nailed the reason why you do it is that energy level. So peel that back a little bit, start fresh, and make sure you start each sentence so you don't do the reverse and let that energy flow through your presentation instead of at the gate, boom, 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 and then you back up and you gotta restart the race again. So just work on that. Also, Ken, you had one double clutch, they had, and you backed up one time with that. And you had an anyway thrown in there. But otherwise, we need to work on our common use language and get rid of the ands, the so's. What happens is, we want to transition between each sentence. So we throw in that filler word. Correct English doesn't have conjunctions between sentences. A conjunction is part of a sentence, not in between. So we just have to cut those out. But otherwise, that's my report today.
And the timer report on our table topics rounds.
Report from time is that we mostly stayed within our bounds. A few of us got a little over. Dr. Mark, you had one, I believe, just one, and
Yeah.
that was 2:15. Ken, your first go-round was 4:23, and your second was 2:37, so just a skosh over on the second round. KO, first round was 2:35, and followed by 2:25, so you're right on the button. First round, of course, eliminate because you were 5 seconds. But Rebecca, 1:47 and 1:37, so you're very consistent right there, about a minute and a half, a little over. It's a good place to be. For myself, I am much shorter winded at 1:29 and 1:17. Don Thompson, I have you down for quite a bit on the first round at 3:46 and 1:32 on the second round. Ariel, 2:34 and 1:20.
Thank you very much, helpers. I gave this meeting a score of 5. A little tough, because I like to be tough. It's good for us. We were 5 minutes late starting. We had a couple unfilled roles and also no speeches. So those were all kind of docs against us. But the 2 rounds of table topics where we get to learn about each other and we all have time to really stretch and practice is also really fun. I always have fun with that. So that was I gave a score of 5. What do we have a
Our average will be 6.6.
0.6? Okay. Thank you very much. Good meeting, guys.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. This concludes our official meeting, and it's time for Happy Bucks. Happy Bucks is the time where we share some of the news that is going on in our lives and donate to our club. This is not just about the money, it's about connection too. It's about getting to know one another. So if you have something going on that you're happy about, you're excited about, and we take IOUs as well. So the bank is open. Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Okay.
And this will be my second IOU. I know Mark will be following me out of the parking lot. I just don't carry cash, but I am good for it. I still have $2 left in my banking account. I did finish my last prepared presentation Monday night at Joplin, and just for a little cleanup details, but for a couple little things, I'll be applying for my DTM, and I'm just thankful for the journey, but there's no finish line. So it's like all of you have said today, you just have to keep on.
It is my understanding that only about 1% of Toastmasters get to the level of DTM. So that's a big deal, huge
We
deal.
now have 2.
Now we have 2 in this club.
Pittsburgh.
Yep, all right.
Well, with summer times, that's the theme of the meeting today. Our new summertime project, we just bought a house, trying to help our son and his wife get a house that they can afford to move into. And so we bought one a couple weeks ago, and that's where this all started, was Saturday morning last week. I was picking up broken concrete and working, because this house needs a ton of work. I mean, it's not that bad, but we already got the roof done, so that was the single biggest expense on the whole thing. But then it needs all new electric service coming in. So I've got to trench and dig all that and put all that in. Hopefully I'm going to be feeling better about get started on that. And then it needs new kitchen and some other things, and then hopefully it'll be ready for me to move in a month or so. So that's what we're working on for summer.
Thank you. Give you our thoughts, Don, as you continue that work for your son.
My husband and I have been talking for a long time about starting a YouTube channel. We have a couple YouTubers who we love, and it's just something that we're super excited about. And we found a training program online for it, and so we're getting a ton of great ideas. We've got, we're getting equipment today to get stuff set up in our playroom / office / storage room / places I toss things I don't want to pick up right now. So we're super excited. It's gonna start tomorrow. That Robbie's gonna start doing that.
Awesome.
And I have several. The 71 yesterday is not as impressive to me as first time ever. I played 9 holes, no mulligans, and I shot par on 9 straight holes. I could not believe it. It was just unbelievably great day for golf. Second thing is that Friday, my book publisher will be sending me my edits for the book that will be published in July 17th. So I'm 3 weeks away from publication of the book. And so that's coming real close. And thirdly, this is my most productive summer in recent history. Both at work, I have developed 60 different videos that I've incorporated in my lessons. I've restructured 3 different courses, and those are ready to go for the fall. I have done 5 major house projects, from redoing the fence, demolishing a shed and tearing it and taking it away, redoing a deck, redoing a gazebo over the deck. Things are just cooking. I am in the groove. I told my wife, I'm going to finish that list by July, so July I can just do nothing. She said, you're going to get a new list. So.
There's no finish line.
I'm sure you can count on it. It's been about 30 years approximately since I've been stopped by the police or ticketed. I just don't get tickets, I don't get stopped. Old man in a gray car, what harm could I do? The week before I introduced the whole exercise of cutting the ribbon for the new highway south of Fort Scott. I got stopped by the police on that highway. And so I said, but you don't understand. I'm going to cut the ribbon to this. And he said, you can go, but slow down. And so the governor made fun of me for getting a speeding citation, just before we had our ribbon cutting. But we still celebrated the opening of the highway and enjoyed the ribbon cutting nonetheless. So
Awesome.
Awesome.
You have some money for me? Oh, I should be giving you some
I'm
money.
adding it here, yeah.
I would too.
And you owe me a lot.
Next week, Wednesday, is the 3rd of July. And I just need to double check with all of us what we think about that meeting. I know several people are going to be gone for the July 4th, and so probably traveling on the 3rd. Are we of the mind to meet on the 3rd or not?
I'm out of town.
You're out of town, Nancy
I will
is
be
gone.
here, but it's whatever.
I'll be in town, I'll be around, so
I'll be here.
You'll be here? Okay.
we should have a meeting.
Are we gonna do our officer? Are we gonna postpone the officer meeting then?
The officer meeting will have to be postponed
One more week.
because, so that all of our officers are here.
So we'll have an induction and transfer of power.
Yes. Okay. Are we of the
Fly
mind?
over and all that too.
Are we of the mind then to have a meeting next week, Wednesday?
I'm good.
For it.
I'm game.
Sure. Let's have
I'll
it.
be here.
Okay. We
We
are
do
on
table
for next
topics
week,
if we
Wednesday,
do
the
that.
3rd then. Our officer meeting will be the week after
I
that.
think it'll be a bang-up meeting.
It'll be wild. All right, thank you everybody for being here.
Aren't you the witty guy?
Good to see you.
Are you gonna invite the second group?
Yeah.
Thank you, Seth.
Just on it.
I'm still looking forward to having peanut butter soup and rice. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Just bring it over here. You know, one of my complaints about Toastmasters